never wanted to be a flat earther. I didn't start out gung-ho about flat earth. I was real reluctant to believe it because I didn't need that kind of ostracism and ridicule in my life. I heard B.O.B. was a flat earther and I laughed on the floor, guys. I could not believe. I thought, what kind of bush is this guy smoking to believe that the earth is flat? But I was also at that time studying applied neuroscience, biochemistry, epigenetics, steroidogenesis, and the smartest guy I'd ever met in my life told me to look into it. And so I couldn't just call him stupid. I looked into it. Within 5 minutes, I could tell we had no real pictures of the earth from space. No private companies ever go to space. It's only government companies or government subsidized companies like SpaceX. And so my problem at first is the same problem a lot of people in this chat are going to have. And we're programmed to have this problem, guys, and that's condemnation before investigation. And so I'm going to prove heliocentrism is not true. The modern science of heliocentrism, spinning ball earth fairy tale, is based on religious superstition, not empirical observation. Kepler, the scientist who came up with what they use today as the theory for elliptical orbits, he was a court astrologer for the Holy Roman Emperor. And that gentleman came out with a revision of Copernicus's book, which was dedicated to the Pope 100 years before Galileo was labeled a heretic by the same church. So this is pay close attention, guys. This is not a scientific deception. It's a spiritual deception masquerading as a scientific deception. Now, if you pay attention to the storyline, the model was constructed from heathen religious beliefs. The religious dogma masquerading as science, I'm going to prove to you guys that. Now, real quick, let's look at the satanic globe math. I don't know if most people are aware of this, but they teach us that the Earth orbits the sun, and the speed of that orbit is 66,600 miles per hour. They teach us that the Earth is tilted. The tilt of that Earth is 23.4 degrees or 66.6 degrees. The curvature of the Earth would be 0.666 feet or 8 inches per mile squared. The circumference of that ball would be 21,600 miles. Now, 216 is 6 times 6 times 6, so 21,600 is 6 times 6 times 600. The diameter of the moon, 2,160. So 6 times 6 times 60. The gravitational constant of Earth, 6.67. Now, you guys can believe that all this stuff is true, but I could no longer go on, believing that's true. I had to test it for myself and verify that it was all baloney. Now, to control the masses, heliocentrism must be introduced early and often so it's a deeply ingrained belief. Okay? While at the same time, any idea of a flat Earth is portrayed as by the educational authorities as a sign someone is abjectly ignorant or even insane. Guys, when it comes to proving if the Earth is a globe or if it's flat, which I set out to do about 5 years ago, I've done probably hundreds of observations by now. Dozens of them are on my YouTube channel. We've used telescopes, infrared, laser tests, high-power zoom cameras, theodolites with land surveyors. I've also done some astrophotography, star trails, lunar eclipses. I was the first one to verify stars don't intersect the marine horizon as far as I know. They vanish off in the distance and fade away above the horizon. Then I caught the moon doing that in Denver, which would not happen on a heliocentric model. But I'm not going to bore you with the hundreds of observations I've done. I just have 3 arguments for the globe earthers.
This world map is over 500 years old, and it shows Antarctica not as a frozen wasteland, but as a lush, green, inhabited continent connected to South America. This mural right here lives inside the Palazzo Farnese, built around 1530. Let's zoom in. This isn't just artwork, this is geographical precision with ports, rivers and cities. But wait, Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1820. So why did a painter in the 1500s know what was there? And why is there no Drake Passage between South America and Antarctica? You know, there seems to be no ice, just landmass that's completely alive. Even other ancient maps say exactly the same. Antarctica used to be green, covered in forests and mapped in detail. So let me ask you this. If this is true, what else has been rewritten? Why is the real Antarctica locked behind military satellites and treaties? Why is every country on Earth banned from touching it? History wasn't just lost, it was deleted. But obviously for the sensory reasons, this is just for entertainment. I am just a satire account and all of these old maps were just cartoon projections of something that doesn't exist. And obviously I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
3 proofs that the Earth is flat. First, ships can always see lighthouses, no matter how far they are. If the Earth were a sphere, this wouldn't be possible. Second, the temperature difference between Antarctica and the equator is huge, although the distance between them relative to the sun in the round Earth theory is minimal. The flat Earth theory shows this clearly, because the sun rotates above the equator and it is hot there, and further from Antarctica and therefore cold there. Third, if the Earth were a sphere, airplanes would have to constantly adjust their angle, but they don't. This means that they would eventually fly into space, but this doesn't happen, which again shows that the Earth is flat.
Globers will say that sunsets are their best proof that we live on a globe. I beg to differ. I think sunsets are one of the best proofs that we do not live on a globe. Here's a sun setting behind Chicago, 50 miles away. You know that from this vantage point, you should only be able to see 3 miles, and then from that point, that's the top of the ball. Everything beyond that is far beyond your sight. You cannot see it, but 50 miles away, here's the city of Chicago, and the sun dropping down behind that proves that we don't live on a ball. Along with the drive to Colorado on I-70, you can see the Pikes Peak from 100 miles away. This family had no clue that they were flat smacking when the sun set behind rolling hills and a tree line 5 miles away. Cool shot, I'll agree, but did they have any clue that they were showing 50-mile away shores in this photo? Same here, this tree line has to be, 10 miles away? We are drawn to sunsets over water. Is it? Maybe because the creator's trying to show us the truth? Just hanging out right there on the water, looking at a mountain. It's 11 miles away. And you see the whole thing still. So next time someone tries to tell you that sunsets prove a globe, just find some footage or photos of the sun setting and showing things far beyond what we should see. All right, researchers, it's time to get to work because the new administrator of NASA, his name's Sean Duffy. He's got a bunch of siblings. I don't know their names. Maybe one of them's name is Will. I don't know, but I know he's got family in Colorado. He's originally from Wisconsin. He lived in Colorado for some time. Will Duffy's from Colorado. I mean, do you think it's a possibility that this guy kind of looks like him? He put a little beard on him and darkened the hair up. Looks kind of like he could be related to Will Duffy. So the conversation I had with ChatGPT said that Will Duffy's also originally from Wisconsin. But, I mean, can you really, truly trust that? I can't find any links linking him to Will Duffy, besides just the crazy coincidence. They got the same last name, kind of look alike, and probably both work for NASA.